What's going on? Happy Monday. So let's talk about Caitlin Clark, the Carmelo Anthony appeal, that 1 year old who lost his life to the police down in Mississippi behind that Walmart shoplifting incident, and whatever else comes to mind. All right, so let's get into it. I haven't made one of these vlogs in a minute. I've been super busy. And there's so much going on, it kind of gets overwhelming. And then I'm always trying to, figure out what I want to talk about. A lot of it has just been, I know, on especially these racial issues that's really been in the news a lot lately, right? And that right there is so frustrating to me because, being mixed, I'm in the middle, so I have a broader view on these issues. I'm not too black, too strong, and I'm not, white power. You know what I'm saying? I like to call balls and strikes on both sides when it comes to these racial issues, and it gets a little frustrating for me where I just want to tune out half the time, right? Because there's so much going on. So let's get into it, all right? I'm gonna just get into it, all right? So let's talk about Caitlin Clark. Recently, during the game, she was assaulted. I mean, it was ridiculous. There wasn't a call made, and so there's been an outrage about that because Caitlin Clark literally is, in my opinion, is really one of the best, if not the best player in the WNBA. And since she's entered the league, the league has prospered because of her, right? And but yet she still gets assaulted every game. She gets it's ridiculous, and it's just a racist attitude, mindset coming from the league. They don't want to promote her as the face of the league, which they should. She's I would go watch Caitlin Clark play, right? Uh, uh, you know what I'm saying? I never even cared about the WNBA till she entered the league and she performs the way she performs on the court. It's amazing to watch. It reminds me of a John Stockton like player, right? And so, but because the league is full of racist black women, right? And so, at every chance they try to demean her and attack her. And it's getting to the point where it's ridiculous. The refs don't even call the fouls, the blatant fouls. It's ridiculous, And so, this has been a lot in the news. And what's so crazy to me is because if you come to defend Caitlin Clark, then you're called a racist, right? When it's blatant to see what they're doing to her. These black basketball players are attacking her. It's not even sportsman. It's not even basketball at this point, right? It's just out blatant hate and racism towards Caitlin Clark. Personally, I think she should just leave the league and let them racist black people have that league. They're gonna ruin it anyway, right? And so that's just my personal opinion on that. Shout out to Caitlin Clark. I'm 100% behind you. I think you're a phenomenal basketball player, and so keep doing what you do. Personally, I think you should leave that league. Let them racist black people destroy it, because that's all racist niggas. I'm gonna say that, right? And I'm gonna have that conversation too. That's all they know how to do is just ruin everything for everybody. So on that point, we need to have this conversation. I know that's a word. Really, it's a word that most white Americans can't handle, right? I mean, it's so common in the black community. It's nothing. You know what I'm saying? But see, I think we need to start having this conversation. We know that Chris Rock back in the 90s, he did a comedy special where he highlighted this. There are two sets of black people within the black community. You have just black Americans, hardworking, intelligent. They're not victim-minded. They get to it. And then you have the niggas, okay? The niggas are the are the problem, right? And we're seeing that more and more. And I've always said it's these subgroup of black people who are the most racist, hateful, violent, ignorant people you would ever not care to meet, right? And we're seeing this subgroup of black people, the niggas, okay, uh, once again acting out on the Carnival cruise. We saw them at the Karmelo Anthony trial. They're getting more and more visibility, right? And it's this group of people who are the worst in our country. They are a scourge in the black community, and they are the worst of people, right? And you can't. And then when you highlight this, right, you're going to be called all type of names from the black community because it's just the dumbest thing, and that's what gets so frustrating to me because I love uh, my black family and friends. I have love for everybody, right? I don't judge people by the color of the skin at all. I understand that there are good and bad in every race. Okay, I've come to understand that. So, but to speak out on black issues and to start holding black people accountable, you get attacked. Okay, so. But I know I made a video about this before, highlighting the difference between just black folks, good, hardworking black Americans, and those black people who are the niggas, okay? And there is a big difference. I know the difference. Most black people can recognize and know the difference. But I don't think really white people have been able to. I'm not saying not all, but this is a conversation we need to have. I think that we need to get back to a segregated system. No niggas allowed, right? And it's that subgroup of people that are the most violent, racist, hateful people you don't want to cross paths with. And that's what happened with Austin Metcalf. May he rest in peace. He crossed paths with a nigga, you know what I'm saying, and lost his life over it. And we're seeing that more and more. Just recently here, a mother of three who was working at a Family Dollar General, something like that, and a guy came in there and just shot her over some hot dog buns. That's a nigga, okay? That's what they do. And so, of course, you won't see BLM rioting and nothing like that over that, right? Because that's just another black man killing a black woman, and that's okay in the black community. But had that been white and black, they'd be burning every Dollar General down they saw, And it's so ridiculous, and it's hard to talk about these things without getting upset because there isn't really any answer. I saw one guy, this black man, he made a video. He said that he would love to see white people become the white supremacist racist, that culture was back in the days, and that's what I had to agree with that. You know what I'm saying? We need that. We need to have that back again, that white supremacist, white racist, no niggas allowed in my bar, restaurant. We need to have that back. Start cleaning up the community. And to protect this country, to be honest with you, because for so long, white people have, just taken a weak stance on what's going on, and in so doing, they're losing this great country, okay? And as an American, as one who loves this country, I understand that it's white people who had the vision, who built this country. We know there's slavery, but it's just not all about slavery. It was a bad thing. And you know what? If it wasn't for a lot of good white people, slavery would have never ended. So like I said, I had these kind of conversations. We need to have these conversations, these hard conversations about what's going on in this country with the racial divide, right? And even as uncomfortable as it is, it's still a conversation that needs to be had, right? And so let's wrap it up with this about that 1-year-old that was shot down in Mississippi. It's a tragedy, right? Especially when it's a child, but They're not holding the mother accountable. You know, they took a baby on a shoplifting spree, ran from the police, right? She's holding the baby up in the front seat. Is, you know, why don't you have the baby in the car seat in the back, right? So she's holding the baby up in the front seat, and the police officer opens fire when they try to take off in the car, and the baby tragically lost his life, you know. And once again, in the black community, instead of holding the mother accountable for her criminal actions, they want to march and boycott and blame the police and everybody else except the mother, right? And see, and this is the problem. This is the problem, and until people, especially within the black community, to start uh, addressing it, nothing will change. And honestly, I'm not an optimist as far as the black community changing. There's such a great divide between good, hard-working black Americans who aren't victim-minded, who don't see everything through the lens of their skin color, right? And the niggas, right? Niggas are racist, hateful, violent, and stupid, okay? Most black people, you can see the two, all right? You know, stereotypes exist for a reason. You know, when you get the jeans sagging, bonnet wearing, you know, I mean, come on, man, them are the niggas, okay? I say all businesses should adopt a no nigga allowed policy, right? And saying that reminds me, recently, I think it was in Texas, okay? A black YouTuber, whatever, making his videos. He went into a restaurant down there, and he was a nigga, okay? He went in with all his niggerish ways. And the owner of the restaurant kicked him out, you know, as he should have, you know. You know, we got people in here trying to eat and dine and enjoy their experience and with their time and family, and you come up in here with your niggerish ways, you got to go. I think every business should adopt that policy, you know. And of course, everybody was screaming racist, whatever, man. You can call me what you want to call me. This is my place. I don't want that in here. Get out, okay? I think every business needs to have that when it comes to this subgroup of black Americans who don't respect anything. They don't respect other people. They don't respect authority. They don't respect themselves, you know. And like I said, we saw that more evident with the Austin Metcalf murder trial, right? And lastly, I'll wrap up with this. I guess, you know, Karmelo Anthony, the grip continues, of course. They're saying that they got an appeal. People don't understand how legal processes work, okay? The appeal is natural. Everybody gets an appeal. Every case gets an appeal where they look for any errors in that case. And so now everybody is thinking that he's going to be freed on appeal and whatever, right? And he's not, and he shouldn't. But what's so ironic is that even now, it's been a couple weeks now since the conviction. These niggas, these racist niggas who still support Karmelo Anthony, everything is a conspiracy. All the witnesses lied, the judge, the lawyers, everybody's in this grand conspiracy to cover. See what I'm saying? It's so ridiculous. You know, they just will not accept the fact that this punk kid, Karmelo Anthony, took a knife to a track meet and started an altercation and murdered somebody, right? Just the simple, plain facts of the case. But no, these racist niggas cannot accept that because Austin Metcalf was white, right? And so it's so pitiful that this is the day and times that we live in. And I know as a Christian, you know, see, this is the conflict, because as a Christian man, you know, I understand. But then, you know, the Bible does talk about that in the last days, that a great delusion will go forth, and the love of many will wax cold, and sin will abound. You know, and I see that we're living in those days, you know, and this subgroup of black people, these niggas, they are a godless people, right? being black is their God, you know. And so they're being demonically influenced to be the way they are, you know, and they're being protected by a society who says that you can't call this subgroup of black people the niggas out on their BS, right? It's crazy, right? And so I've never been one to keep my mouth shut about things that's on my mind at all, because I don't care, you know. Right? And so I just had to get out here and make this vlog. I got up a little early today so I can get out here. It's supposed to be in the high 90s here in Michigan all week. So yeah, it's about 8 o'clock now in the morning, and it's just now starting to really warm up. So got to get it in early before I head off here to work. All right, I feel a little better making this vlog. It's been a minute. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. Hit the like and leave a comment. I welcome it all. Until next time.